Hey everybody, and welcome back. I actually meant to put a video out yesterday, but your sister was in here sweating, y'all. I gotta tell you about the last couple of days. So on a couple of nights ago, my husband had the air on, we're getting our peaceful night's sleep. He gets up in the morning. Now I'm cold natured, right? So I don't really touch the AC too often because, really haven't had a need to. But for the past couple of days, it's been pretty hot here, like in the 90s even some days. So, I didn't think anything of it until it gets to where it's warm to me. Then I'll go fiddle with the AC. So I was pretty comfortable the majority of the day, but my husband was gone to work. And generally before he gets home, I will turn the AC on to make it comfortable for him. So I turn it on and I realize nothing's happening. I feel air blowing out of the vents, but it's not cold air. What is this? What's going on? So we try all the different things, trying to make sure everything is, because we had a power trip a few days ago where our lights kind of flickered or whatever. So I was like, maybe it tripped up something. Never know. We're checking everything. Everything's fine. I was like, oh goodness. Now we replaced this AC unit back in 2020. We replaced the whole unit, the whole AC unit. And the one prior to that we had for many years. And I have personally done work on it. I've replaced the capacitor in that unit before. And some kind of fusing in there I've done myself. Because, I'm pretty handy, honestly. I'll do things I'll do minor car repairs and repairs around the house and things like that. So I was like, I said it's either the fan motor or the capacitor. So I have my husband go out there and check some things. I'm like, does it feel warm on top? Does it? Y'all, I'm not an HVAC tech. But I do know these things from having had issues, which led to us having to replace the unit. So I'm like, oh man, but I can't determine which one it is. And I don't want to touch this unit because it's still under warranty. So I'm like, oh man. I was like, I'm going to be pissed off. I tell my husband, I'm going to be pissed off if this is a capacitor. Because that's literally pulling that thing out and popping another one in. It's nothing. It's so easy. So we called the AC people. And my husband was like, I don't know. But if I get home tonight and this AC isn't running, we're just going to a hotel. So I'm like, okay, so we're going to spend money anyway. So I don't care when they are able to come out. We're going to have them come out today. So they come out after hours I think he gets here around 6 o'clock or something like that. And he goes out and looks at the unit. And first he asks me what's going on, takes a picture of our air filters, make sure our filters aren't dusty, dirty, whatever. And he goes out. Within 10 minutes, he was like, well, here's your culprit. And what is it? That freaking capacitor. I thought it was the fan motor. I'll be quite honest with you. But it was that capacitor. I was so angry because I know how quick those things are to replace. But at the same time, I didn't want to touch the unit because, like I said, it still is under its warranty. So I didn't want to touch it because that'll void everything. I work in service myself, so I know. It's a different type of service, a scientific service, but I know that when you start fiddling around doing things yourself, you actually void your warranty. So I'm glad I didn't touch it. But the capacitor is a long-term maintenance item, so it's not covered under our warranty, and therefore we had to pay. What was the damage? It was $500 and something, $511 and some change. Now, this is an unexpected expense. Is it an emergency? When do I decide what's an emergency to pull from our emergency fund? Well, I figured this would be a good video to show you guys how I determine whether I touch our emergency fund. I consider an emergency fund essential essential, for especially because you never know how big an expense can get. It can go from a few $100s to thousands of dollars. So you always want to make sure you have one. But this is how I determine whether we use ours. I thought it'd be, I don't know, a neat video to go over. So let's get into it. All right, now if you've watched my budgeting videos, you know that number one, I am a mostly credit card budgeter. The only thing I do not pay by credit card is the mortgage and the car note. So everything else is paid by credit cards. I prefer cashback credit cards because I use them to get the cash back, pay before the statement drops, and then that way I get the cashback rewards from the card, but I never carry balances. I do not like credit card debt. I was in a ton of credit card debt at one point in time, and I don't want to go back. So therefore, that's how I do our budget. I also keep a month ahead in our account, plus a $1,000 buffer. So our first line of defense is that $1,000 buffer. Now, if an expense is $1,000 or less, we're not going to touch our emergency fund because we have that buffer there specifically for that. And then what would happen is the next month's budget, we replenish whatever we used out of that buffer. So the first line of defense is our buffer, not our emergency fund. Now, what happens when an emergency or something happens that's above that $1,000? What do I do then? First of all, my husband and I will have a conversation. Because we have a month ahead in our account, I'll use this month for an example. If our expenses that I budgeted out for the month of May were $5,500, that means we will have no less than $6,500 in the checking. And so if an emergency was over $1,000, we would talk about it and say, hey, our income that's coming in for this month, which is funding next month, so our income for May is funding June. We decide, do we want to just take less into our personal accounts? Go back to the video where I showed that we disperse everything after the bills are paid is dispersed between us. We decide together, hey, do we want to take less into our personal accounts and go ahead and cover this? I did the same thing when our water heater broke. We decided that we would take less into our personal accounts to cover that happening, to cover that replacement. So we decide that. Now, if we decide we don't want to do that, we may strategically use a credit card. Now, how are you strategically using a credit card? Okay, because I am a credit card budgeter, I strategically place credit cards, statements dropping. The statement drop dates are strategically placed for me. So I'll select the due date that I wish to have on the credit card. If you do not know, you can oftentimes alter your due date. If you didn't know that, you have to call the credit card company. Some will allow you to do it online, but you can call them and request a certain due date. I would do that. So I have 2 that have the closing date at the beginning of the month, and then 1 cashback card for each additional week. So 2 in the first of the month, 1 in the second week of the month, 1 closes in the third week of the month, and then 1 closes in the last week of the month. I strategically did that because I can use any one of those cards if I want to push an expense to the next month. Stay with me here. So let's say I have something catastrophic happen on the 20th of the month. What I can decide to do is to use the credit card whose statement just dropped on and the middle week of the month, like say the 15th. I can use that card, which means the statement won't drop again till the following month on the 15th. And I can opt to pay it then without ever having a balance on my card reported. Because I clear the balance before the statement drops. So I can opt to do that. Sometimes I will do that. You'll see that next month because that's probably what's going to happen with our car. Our car taxes. I'm probably going to pay, because I usually don't do that till closer to the end of the month. So I'm probably going to use a card that statement drops in July. So I'll pay it in June. Statement will drop in July. And in July, I will pay it in totality before the statement drops. So I can opt to do that. Because this way of doing it, it creates a lot of flexibility. It creates my ability to be able to budget that item into my expenses when I want it to be budgeted, and gives me time. So if I'm paying something at the end of the month, I can be like, oh, okay, I want to budget that into the next month. So it just gives me a flexibility in the budget, and we can shift around timing without carrying a balance on our cards. And it's a situation where it creates no interest and no carried balance, which is the top priority for me. I don't like carrying credit card balances. You can actually make a flow chart out of that if you wanted, but that's so convoluted. I don't want it to be that tricky, but you could make a flow chart with your cards. And anyway, this is me going too deep into it. If the unexpected expense cannot be covered by buffer, it's either more than $1,000 and we decide, yeah, no, we don't want to do it this way. We don't want to use strategic card timing. We don't want to take less in our accounts the next month. We don't want to budget it next month or anything like that. We can also decide to use an emergency fund. But if you know me, you know that I have a backup emergency fund and then our formal emergency fund. I keep a personal backup emergency fund. Don't ask me why, but if you know my story, you know that I have been through a tremendous amount of things. It's just a peace of mind that I need. I don't know. It's just something that gives me peace of mind. So the backup emergency fund would be the first option. I usually keep enough to cover maybe a $2,000 to $3,000 emergency. I could cover that no problem without ever touching our formal emergency fund. Now, if I don't want to do that, then, or if it exceeds that amount, then we would use our emergency fund. So step one in determining our emergency, what's a true emergency for us, is our buffer. If it's over $1,000, we go to step two. Are we going to take less in our accounts this month? Or are we going to float it on a card to the next month so I can budget it in? I can include it in my next month's budget and pay before the statement drops. Or three, are we going to use an emergency fund? And if we are, the first emergency fund is going to be the backup. Then we will use our formal joint emergency fund. That's how I do it. And that's because I'm a type of person that likes a backup to a backup to a backup. That is my mental thing. It's just a mental thing for me. And nothing that I talk about, and this is another point I gotta make. Nothing I talk about in my videos am I saying you should do. I'm saying that this is what I do. And sometimes seeing what another person does can spark a thought in your head about some changes that you can make. Because that's what happens to me. I'll watch other people and I'll be like, oh, I like that idea. Or this might work for me. And stuff like that. That's the only reason that I'm sharing what I do. Plus, I'm not a financial professional. So, I can't tell you what to do with your budget. And personal finance is very personal. You have to do what works for you, not for everybody else. So keep that in mind. So y'all, that is what I got for you today. I've determined this is not an emergency. Why? Because it is under our $1,000 buffer. So we're going to just use the money from our account. Actually, I made a mistake and I just realized it today. When I initially booked the appointment, because you have to pay up front for the diagnostic fee, I paid with one card, one of my cashback cards. And after the work is complete, you pay the remaining balance. Well, I selected the second card is the wrong card. I should not have selected that card, but they're the same color and I just pulled it out and thought it was the same. Anyway, so a portion of the bill is on one card and a portion is on the other. So one card will be an overage for the month because the statement is about to drop in a few days. So it will be budgeted into my budget as a going over budget this month. And the next month, I will budget in the remaining balance, which was the initial fee that I paid for the technician to come out. It happens. But as long as you're staying in tune with everything that's going on, I check my accounts frequently so I know everything that's going on. You can catch those things pretty quick and adjust accordingly. So that is how we determine, though, what is a true emergency. And I really try to deem a true emergency a real emergency. It has to be over a certain amount for me to even think to consider it an emergency. If we can work it out a different way, that's what we try to do. How do you all do your emergencies? Do you have an emergency fund? How do you deem what a true emergency is? Like, what are your steps? I'm so interested to hear, and I hope to see some comments in the comment section just kind of letting me know, or even videos if you're a content creator, on how you deem things to be a true emergency where you will dip into your emergency fund. So anyway, I will talk to you guys soon. I'm going to enjoy this AC being back on and get to work, and I will reach out to you guys soon. So peace out. Bye.